Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. My name is Austin Brubaker. I'm going to be your host this afternoon and I'm excited to be here again. Last week I had the chance to be able to come back to be able to do a Monday solo show, and I'm excited to be able to do it again. Just talking a little bit overall about what this show is going to be. We're going to be talking a little bit big picture Dodgers wise, particularly when it comes to the postseason. The Dodgers clearly are focused on October right now, and really, as far as storylines to go within the Dodgers season, there's small nitpick things that you can go ahead and point out with the Dodgers. However, the Dodgers have a 14-game lead in the division. The division is getting close to where it's getting pretty far out of reach for a lot of other teams. I won't say it's completely out of reach. Last year we saw the Detroit Tigers had a similar large lead that they ended up blowing to the Cleveland Guardians, but I don't think with the Dodgers talent that they have on their roster, that really is any sort of expectation. So the mindset for the Los Angeles Dodgers, especially as we are in this month of July where trade deadline season is upon us, and that's where a lot of the thought and focus is going to be for this month until I believe it's the August 3rd deadline for trade season. A lot of the focus is going to be how complete is this Dodgers roster going into October, and we're going to be diving into that. Did a little bit of an introduction into something that I had been working on putting together. We're going to be just slightly expanding upon that, as well as taking a little bit of a look as to what could, in an ideal world, a Dodgers postseason roster look like. And that's going to help tell us perhaps some of the direction that the Dodgers could take at the trade deadline. We'll also be getting into conversation both offense and pitching wise on that, as well as somebody that could be completely under the radar, but could be a potential option for the Dodgers if they decide to make a move from their roster, which there's been a lot of rumblings that instead of it being more of a let's go ahead and acquire major league talent, let's go ahead and replenish our farm system, who could be some of those underrated talents and perhaps somebody that we have not mentioned before. We're going to be diving into that. I'm not anticipating the show to be too terribly long, probably in the 45 minutes to about an hour type range, but happy to be able to interact with you guys. If you guys have a lot of questions for me, love to be able to do that. Quick update on Casey. I'll be honest, I have not heard from Casey at all this week. I'm assuming that everything is good and he's still recovering from his flu that he has been dealing with, but I have not heard from him specifically, so I don't know as far as the rest of this week shows with him are concerned, if he's still on track to be able to return from shows. Just continue to keep him in your prayers. And as soon as we have any sort of update that we can make public, I'll be sure to let you guys know. I just haven't had any communication with him since the previous week, which isn't bad news, but it also just isn't any sort of updates for you guys. Just wanted to let you guys know on that. But thank you guys for tuning in. For Sammy Boy Smith, what's up to you? Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, Chuck Huddleston as well, R. Carino 5. It is not Casey, unfortunately. Wish I had some updates on that, but I'm hoping that he'll be able to get back soon as soon as he possibly can. Chuck Huddleston, I'm interested to see if Evan Phillips come back to form by season's end. That's going to be one of the main storylines. Evan Phillips expected to be, and I don't think it's made official yet, but expected to be activated off the injured list tonight. There likely is going to be some sort of move. Could be Paul Gervais just getting optioned back down to the minor leagues. Could be a Kyle Hurt who struggled a little bit more of late, getting optioned down to AAA. Either way, Evan Phillips is on his way back. He's back with the team in Los Angeles and is expected to be activated very soon tonight. So that Sammy Boy Smith, that's who I have. If I had to make a prediction, it's probably going to be Paul Gervais. I get it. Kyle Hurt has struggled as of late, but I think the overall quantity of work that Kyle Hurt has been able to do warrants him being at the major league level. And I also want to see Kyle Hurt to be able to adjust back to major league hitters. And I don't think the immediate thing to do when any single player immediately or finds a way to struggle at the big league level is immediately option him back down. I still think there are aspects to Kyle Hurt's game where a lot of this development needs to happen at the major league level. And especially with the inevitable return of an Edwin Diaz, I don't think it's necessarily something where the organization has to move Kyle Hurt down. Just my opinion. You could disagree with that or say that they should option him or somebody else. Although, if you look at the bullpen that the Dodgers have, just the players that are currently on the active bullpen, there's really not anybody, for the most part, besides the options of Paul Gervais and Kyle Hurt, that you could really think about optioning down. Tanner Scott, you can't. Alex Bessie, you can't. Brock Stewart, you can't. Edgardo Henriquez, I want to give praise to Edgardo Henriquez right now because he is turning into one of the best right-handed relievers in the game of baseball. This is something that I had posted on my X account. If you're not following that, you don't have to, but it is AustinBRU99. This is from a couple of days ago. Numbers might be slightly outdated, but from July 4th, so 2 days ago. I don't think they are. If you look at Stuff Plus for major league pitchers with at least 20 innings pitched, Edgardo Henriquez is third. Stuff Plus is one of the metrics pitching-wise that indicates how good your actual stuff is playing. It is fairly predictive, or I should necessarily say predictive. There's a good correlation between that and having success as a big league pitcher, because if you have better stuff, the more likely that is to be able to get swing and miss, or at the very least be able to get hitters out with the shapes and movements that it has. Edgardo Henriquez, as one would predict with the velo that he has, phenomenal stuff. And that's with 5 pitches with at least 114 Stuff Plus or greater in his arsenal. And he's starting to really turn things around, especially against right-handed hitters. His expected weighted on base average against right-handed hitters is second in all of Major League Baseball, minimum of 50 plate appearances, only behind Mason Miller. So if you're looking for a reliever to this point of the season that has generated the weakest amount of contact, the best expected results that you could have against right-handed hitters, it's Edgardo Henriquez that has been one of the very best and is turning into, I'd like to see him get more of these opportunities, and certainly there will be more of these opportunities, one of the Dodgers' high-leverage right-handed arms out of the bullpen. Such a high potential for Edgardo Henriquez, and he's starting to live up with that. All of the numbers are good. He's able to get a decent amount of swing and miss, not insane, but he also limits a lot of contact on the ground as well. A 2.40, I believe, expected ERA. Everything is looking great for Edgardo Henriquez right now, to where you feel very confident with him coming onto the mound. And he is not somebody that you look at and say, yeah, let's send him down to Oklahoma City. He is not an option to do that because of how good he is pitching like one of the better arms in the National League. 2.40 expected ERA, 18% strikeout minus walk percentage, 51.2 ground ball percentage, just a 3.6 barrel percentage for Edgardo Henriquez. He is not an option to send down. So looking at the bullpen right now, Scott's not an option because he can't. Fessie's not an option because he can't. Stewart's not an option because he can't. Edgardo Henriquez is not an option. Will Klein is not an option, and he is somebody that has pitched really well as well. He's not just a World Series type of hero. He also is turning into an incredible bullpen arm, another high leverage right-handed reliever, near 19% strikeout minus walk percentage, get both righties and lefties out, an ERA that's hovering around 3-ish with a expected ERA basically right around the same. Will Klein is phenomenal. You can't option him down. Jack Dreyer, you can't option him down. I know he's gone through bits and pieces where he struggled a little bit, but overall has been a model of consistency. And a 22.5% strikeout minus walk percentage with the ability, look at the expected stats against righties and lefties, getting them out. You can't option him down to the bullpen. You can't option him down to Oklahoma City, I should say. That is 6 of your 8 bullpen arms that are part of the mix, not including an Evan Phillips that could be added into the mix, which with Evan Phillips, that leaves you with 2 options, Paul Gervais and Kyle Hurt. And when Edwin Diaz, who sounds like is working his way back into the fold for the Los Angeles Dodgers, is coming back, that is both of those options being optioned down to Oklahoma City. So when it comes to this conversation of who does Evan Phillips replace coming up, which I don't know if there's been an official announcement. I've been live for the past couple of minutes or so. I don't think it's going to be a too difficult option. My guess would be Paul Gervais. Kyle Hurt would be the not surprise, or would be slightly surprising, but the other option, the other thing, which you obviously hope doesn't happen, is somebody is on the injured list. Those are the things to watch with the activation, likely today, of Evan Phillips onto the Los Angeles Dodgers roster. So that's kind of a little bit of an outlook of where we're at. Dodgers are entering the series against the Colorado Rockies, where it's just a continual, just go up, stack some wins, and they're going to do well. Just taking 3 out of 4 against San Diego, they are in a really good position. Their offense is one of the best offenses in the game of baseball. Their pitching staff is one of the best pitching staffs in the game of baseball. Their defense is one of the best defenses in the game of baseball, top 5 by a lot of different categories. So you look around and say, what could this team possibly need and do for the postseason? And that's where I want to be able to take this discussion, is go back to something we had talked about on the show the previous Monday and talk about the postseason. Because clearly in the Los Angeles Dodgers' eye, I don't think they're as concerned about the regular season. They have enough talent to be able to stack the necessary wins to, I believe, win the division. Also, I believe they have enough talent to be able to get one of those 2 byes for the first round of the playoffs. Atlanta, who currently is the leading in the National League East, it was 3rd division leader, has 52 wins. Dodgers have 59. They have a 7-win advantage on the Atlanta Braves right now. I think that is starting to get pretty comfortable, especially with the talent that the Dodgers have. Could certainly slip back on that, and that's not to say that the Dodgers are going to push their foot off of the gas pedal, but I think they understand their position and they understand where their focus needs to be. So what I want to do is I want to take a look at something that I had created to take a little bit of an evaluation of each one of these players going into October. So this, if you had the chance to be able to watch the show last Monday, something that I introduced. The main part of this is couple of different aspects that are really important to be able to evaluate when you're looking at different pitchers that are on the staff. One, how confident are you in putting this pitcher in a postseason environment pitching? That's postseason confidence percentage. For example, with somebody like a Tyler Glasnow, you feel pretty confident about him going out and pitch in a postseason setting. He's somebody that puts up really good numbers when healthy in the regular season and has shown some level of success during October. Similar, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, you feel completely confident with him pitching in a postseason type setting, whereas with somebody that, like, let's say a Landon Knack or Gavin Stone or an Eric Lauer, Roki Sasaki, you might have a lot less confidence in those pitchers going out and pitching in a postseason setting. So being confident in a pitcher is really important. Also, health confidence. How confident are you that this pitcher is actually going to be healthy going into October, going into a postseason type setting? Incredibly important, especially because the amount of pitching injuries that happen. I think both of those combined can help create some type of impact percentage that you're looking at that help give you a pretty decent outset into the postseason type setting. That's what this postseason impact percentage, all it is multiplying postseason confidence times health confidence going forward. Gives you a little bit of a good look into how confident you are in each one of these arms going for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Also right here, I have certain statistics for each one of these players. We have expected ERA. I like that just a little bit better than just putting an individual player's ERA, because I think expected ERA takes a little bit more into context the batted ball quality, and especially since I'm already having strikeout minus walk percentage, I think that gives us a little bit of a better overall indicator of how this pitcher has done with the context of taking into context batted ball without completely reliant on the individual results, because once postseason starts, doesn't matter what your ERA was during the regular season. All that matters is what is it going to be going forward. Then we have strikeout minus walk percentage, stuff plus, how good is your actual stuff. And then these two ones are going to be really important as we talk about going forward in October. Expected weighted on base average, again, taking the expected contact that a player has versus right-handed hitters, and then versus left-handed hitters as well. One of the things that really plays up in October is platoon splits. There's a lot of different platooning that goes on in October, subbing in a left-handed hitter for a right-handed hitter, going ahead and bringing in a left-handed reliever to face a talented left-handed bat. These are things that are really important. And what I wanted to do is look at those numbers in 2026 to see, okay, what is going to be the optimal role for these guys as they face pitchers. Are they a little bit more even split, or are there certain pitchers that do really well versus one side or the other? For example, one of the guys that the reasons why the Dodgers brought over a player like a Brock Stewart is because has been, over the past couple of years, really good at getting right-handed hitters out. And this year, very small sample size, the expected weighted on base average, league average is about 320, has been 203. He's been really good at limiting damage against right-handed hitters, and that could be a weapon that you could use in the postseason for a very specific type of matchup. So those are the individual stats that we have. We have postseason impact percentage right here. A lot of this is based off of, one, how confident are that they're going to be healthy, and how confident are if they were put in a postseason type of setting, type of environment. And what I had gone through a little bit last year is, okay, who are the confident options? Who are the realistic options that we have to be able to help provide a little bit of an overview of what the postseason roster looks like? Because obviously one of the things that the Dodgers, or us as fans, typically look out for the Los Angeles Dodgers is we need more pitching. The more pitching that you could have, the better it's actually going to be. But do the Dodgers already have enough pitching to be able to go around? Dangerous question to ask with the injuries that pitchers have. But I want to take a little bit of a step back, because there could be, and there obviously is going to be, some push for Dodgers to trade for a bullpen arm, or the Dodgers to trade for a Tarek Skubal. The question is that necessary, and is that what the organization's looking at? So what I decided to do is take a little bit of a look as to the possible, not definite, but possible postseason type of options for the Los Angeles Dodgers. What could, in an ideal world with this roster looking the way it does, what could a postseason roster pitching-wise look like for the Dodgers? And again, postseason setting, remember, you're looking at 11 or 12 pitchers more likely. If it's unlikely that the Dodgers would go with 13 pitchers, it's possible, but typically you're looking at 11 pitchers for a short game series, 3-game series, or 12 pitchers for a 5+ game series. So what I decided to do, with this roster, assuming that there's health, let's look at the 12 most likely options that the Dodgers could potentially turn to. You got Yamamoto, Ohtani, Snell, Glasnow. I think those guys, if they are healthy, almost certainly to make the postseason roster. Biggest question marks are Snell and Glasnow. Glasnow a little bit more than Blake Snell. If there's some sort of extended injury for somebody like a Tyler Glasnow, that changes some of the outcomes that you could look at, to where it becomes a little bit more of a need to be able to go ahead and get a starting pitcher. But if all these guys are healthy, put up really good numbers, phenomenal stuff. Again, these are all 2026 numbers, so don't pay too much attention to Blake Snell's couple of innings that he had in his one appearance this year. But then you look at the other arms, and my question is, which one of these guys should not be on a postseason roster? Justin Robleski. Justin Robleski has earned a majority of the fans' trust by his performance, and even with some of the underlying metrics not liking him quite as much, I still think, especially because some of the more limited options that the Dodgers have, left-handed pitching, and with them wanting to add another dog to try to get left-handed hitters out, maybe a little bit more long relief, I think there's a lot of confidence in Justin Robleski pitching in postseason. Tanner Scott has earned the trust. 32.1 strikeout minus walk percentage is ridiculous. Alex Vesia, trusted in the bullpen. Edwin Diaz, when he is healthy, I believe is going to be trusted part of this bullpen. There's a reason why they are paying him $23 million per year. Jack Dreyer, You look at the numbers, ability to get right-handed hitters out and left-handed hitters out, which means if there's pinch hit situations where the opposing teams pinch hit a right-handed hitter to face a Jack Dreyer in a situation where they bring him in, I still feel like you could feel confident with him being part of this postseason bullpen. Edgardo Enriquez, we had talked about earlier, 2.40 ERA, with a 195 expected weighted on base average against right-handed hitters, one of the better weapons that the Dodgers have to face right-handed hitters out of their bullpen, and especially with the velo that he throws. Will Klein has just been nothing but consistent this year, good against righties and lefties, and then Brock Stewart being a right-handed option that you could turn to, especially get a tough right-handed hitter out in the 6th, maybe the 7th inning, could be an option that they could turn to. Those are 12 options that you have right here. Now, you might have questions about some of the health of some of these guys. Brock Stewart and Tyler Glasnow are options that you could turn to immediately. But if things work out for the Los Angeles Dodgers, you're having an incredible mix of options to where if you go into a postseason series, I don't really feel uncomfortable about having any of these options in there. You remember back to the World Series. The World Series, they did not have Alex Vesia part of the roster, so they had to turn to somebody like a Will Klein, who was a more unproven commodity. That was a question mark on the Dodgers postseason roster. They had to turn to Edgardo Henriquez in the World Series, which a little bit more of a question mark at the time because he was more unproven. This time, if you go with this list, there's really not a whole lot of question marks. And when you look at the depth that they have behind it, these are the players that would not be part of a 12-man postseason pitching staff roster. Emmett Sheehan. Emmett Sheehan, I know the results have been closer to a 5 ERA. Some of the underlying metrics actually still suggest that he is a good pitcher. 3.93 expected ERA, vastly different than what his actual ERA is, with his 18.5 strikeout minus walk percentage. He's been pretty solid at being able to get right-handed hitters out. It does not include a Roki Sasaki, out of the bullpen could be different than the starting pitching Roki Sasaki. It does not include an Eric Lauer, Eric Lauer actually could be a little bit of an underrated option going forward for the Dodgers. It's going to be difficult to be able to keep him on the major league roster once some of these pitchers return, just because who are you going to option down to Oklahoma City at that point? But having a 228 expected weighted on base average on the Dodgers against left-handed hitters, that's a really good mark for a left-handed weapon. Not saying that it will be him, but that could be another option that the Dodgers have. Evan Phillips, this is not including him part of the postseason roster. It's not including Kyle Hurt part of the postseason roster, who actually has been better at limiting damage and contact against left-handed hitters than he has against right-handed hitters this year. Could be another option you could turn to for that type of role, and especially if he's able to turn it back to the Kyle Hurt that we saw earlier in the season. Blake Trinan is not including Blake Trinan, and I think he would be several guys down this list in terms of confidence that you would have on. And it's not also not including a River Ryan, which means you have 12 guys that are part of this pitching staff, and you also have 7 additional options that you could potentially turn to as depth if there are injuries to any one of these guys, which with every single one of these guys, the Dodgers have the ability to be able to, if they're needing some additional rest, there's not any sort of expectation that they will go ahead and force the Dodgers into the postseason and rely heavily upon them in the regular season to where it makes them unavailable for the postseason. If there's any sort of sign of any type of injury, the Dodgers have the ability to slow play it, to rest them, and to be able to, as best as they can, put out their postseason roster. So the question becomes from that list, is there anyone that you do not feel comfortable in a postseason setting? And where are you going to find the options to perhaps feel a little bit more comfortable in a postseason setting? I think with the depth that the Dodgers have on the pitching side, which they do have a decent amount of depth, but they're also wanting to keep as much of that depth as they possibly can because of the limited amount, for example, of starting pitchers that are healthy for Oklahoma City that you feel comfortable with. I don't think they're necessarily wanting to trade an Emmett Sheehan or a River Ryan or a Roki Sasaki at this point, specifically because Their healthy depth at Oklahoma City might be a little bit lacking at this point, and they want to make sure they have enough arms to be able to go forward, win some games, and also keep the depth that they have. I think the depth that they have right now is fine, to where the only place that you could potentially turn to that I see at this point is more of that super high upside type of arm. Really, for the Dodgers at this point, unless there are injuries that happen over the course of the next couple of weeks, I don't see the Dodgers making a massive splash for a big name type of reliever. I could be wrong about that, but based on Andrew Friedman's history of not wanting to trade for these high leverage relievers at the trade deadline, given their price point, I don't really see that as being an option for the Dodgers. The only thing that I could see moving forward for the Los Angeles Dodgers is if there's an injury to the starting pitching mold. In which case, is it a question of, do we add more reliability for a cheaper price? Or do we go out and add somebody who's going to be the highest upside option, and that is somebody who potentially could be available like a Tarek Skubal? I think for the pitching wide side of things, it could be dangerous to be able to say this, and we're going to have to wait going forward to see the health of some of these players. But if the Dodgers stay the course of where they're at and they're relatively healthy, very dangerous observations, very dangerous things to be able to say. But if that's the case, I find it very difficult to make substitutions to this pitching postseason staff going forward to be able to help make this roster as complete as it possibly could be. Just some of my thoughts, some of my observations. Be curious to see what you guys think about this. Let's get into a couple of this. Some of the questions that we have. Sammy Boy Smith, Dodgers will phantom IL Yamamoto too at some point. Could be, with the amount of innings that Yamamoto pitched last year in the postseason. I was kind of curious and skeptical to see what they were going to do with Yamamoto as far as his workload. It's very possible that there could be some time where if they notice anything about Yamamoto, he could get a little bit of rest, because they're going to need Yoshinobu Yamamoto in October, and that'll be what happens. Sammy Boy Smith, Mason Miller will get traded soon. San Diego doesn't have many save opportunities for him. Ramp him up to start or trade him. San Diego has definitely struggled. They struggle offensively, one of the worst WRC pluses in the game of baseball. There's just a lot of things that are going on, and that was one of the difficulties and one of the things that was dangerous about trading for somebody like a Mason Miller for a top prospect like a Leo DeVries. You can have whatever conversation that you want about whether it's in the Dodgers' best interest to trade for the top of the line relievers, but that does come with a little bit of risk as well. And I think we're starting to see that with San Diego, where they got a really good bullpen, but the rest of the roster isn't as complete, and they're a little bit more limited in terms of resources at the farm system that they can trade for other talent. That was just a decision that the Padres decided to make, so they're going to live with the consequences of that. Gregory, is Ohtani playing in the All-Star game? If so, will he pitch or DH? I wouldn't imagine they would use him as a pitcher. Just because I don't know if it's the best interest of the Los Angeles Dodgers to have Ohtani pitch in the All-Star game, but we'll see what happens. Truck Olson, Robo is a dog and fearless, got to be there in the postseason roster. Absolutely, he's got to be there. So let's go ahead and turn to the offensive side of things as well, because it's not just the postseason pitching staff that we need to take into account. Let's also take a look at the offense as well. On the offensive side of things, big question mark right now is Will Smith and his health. He's still coming back from his injury. My assumption is still that he's going to come back healthy at some point during the regular season and then be ready to go for October. Perhaps they're slow playing it a little bit. I know it's based on some of the comments and stuff the organization has made. Taking a lot longer than what they anticipated, but this is the big question mark that the Los Angeles Dodgers have right here. Same thing, postseason confidence, how confident you are in a postseason type setting. Health confidence, how confident are you that they're going to be healthy. Postseason impact percentage, just multiplying these two values together. Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, Andy Pages, Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez, Kyle Tucker, and Tommy Edman. Assuming health for all of these players, that is your starting nine, not in order, but with the number of players that are there, those are your starting 9 for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And let's be real and let's be honest, there's not really going to be a whole lot of additional opportunities that other players are going to get. You look at the postseason, you look for opportunities that could arise. It's defensive replacement, it's pinch hitting opportunities, it's pinch running opportunities. But really, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of situations where the Dodgers are necessarily going to want to pinch run for some of these guys. Defensively, they're one of the best defensive teams in the league. You could have in the past said somebody like a Max Muncy, but Max Muncy is currently on pace, if you were to play 162 games, for like a 12 defensive run save type of season. So I don't know if you necessarily would want to a defensive replacement for him. Teoscar Hernandez could be an option that you could go ahead and turn to, although he hasn't been nearly as bad in left field this year as he has been in years past. With Freeman, Ohtani, Betts, Muncy, Pages, Smith, Teo, Tucker, and Edman, I think that is going to be, assuming healthy again, going to be your lineup for the majority of it. And other players like Miguel Rojas or Kike Hernandez, I could see Kike Hernandez perhaps similar in a role that he was last postseason, where Max Muncy, third base against a tough left-handed starter, getting a couple of opportunities. That could be an option that the Dodgers turn to. Overall, though, I think this is a really good, comfortable starting 9 for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then you have Miguel Rojas, you've got Dalton Rushing, you got Alex Call, Kike Hernandez as 13 position players that you would have as part of this mix, or at least projected as of right now, 13 position players that you have part of this mix. Kike Hernandez sounds like he's a little bit ahead of time, returning back from injury. He obviously is difference maker in the postseason based on what he has done in the past. Don't look too hard at these numbers on the season. 799 WRC plus comes from 4 plate appearances earlier in the season, which were great. But I want to take a little bit of a look just overall, because they got 13 players that they potentially could turn to. One, I want to be able to make a note of an observation, especially when it comes to the trade deadline aspect. When Kike Hernandez returns, he is almost certainly going to take the roster spot currently occupied by Alex Freeland. Alex Freeland has struggled, no doubt, has struggled over the past several weeks. There was a point where, man, he was really starting to turn it around. He was near league average as a hitter. Things were starting to look up. Over the past couple of weeks, things seem to be lost in his swing, striking out a lot more. Just seems to be a little bit lost at the plate. However, with somebody like a Ha-Seong Kim, ever since he's got optioned down to Oklahoma City, he has struggled massively. So I think the situation that the Dodgers are in is, let's just ride it out with Alex Freeland. You know what you're getting defensively. We want him to be able to get reps at the major league level. Let's just do it until Kike Hernandez comes back. Once Kike Hernandez comes back, these top 13, Freeman, Ohtani, Betts, Muncy, Pages, Smith, Teo, Tucker, Edman, Rojas, Rushing, Call, and Kike, those are your 13 position players. I know there's been some calls for the Los Angeles Dodgers to perhaps go ahead and trade for a second baseman. That could be an option that the Dodgers could turn to. If there is some type of injury or extended injury or reoccurrence of an injury towards somebody like a Tommy Edman, I think that could open up the avenue. However, as long as Edman is looking like he can be healthy going into October, or healthy enough, I think the Los Angeles Dodgers aren't going to turn down that avenue, because on the 26-man roster, they would not have any sort of room for another player unless that player would be able to replace an Alex Call. For a second baseman, the job that they would take would have to be Alex Call's position, unless there is an injury on the 26-man roster to somebody like a Tommy Edman for the second base position. So somebody like a Luis Arias, who has been significantly better player this year because his defense has taken a massive turn this year, I don't think necessarily fits on the Los Angeles Dodgers with the way that the current roster is constructed, with both a Miguel Rojas and a Kike Hernandez on the bench, is just because you don't really have a whole lot of options to be able to turn to. And with Tommy Edman, he's played a little bit of outfield, played a little bit of left field, but I have not seen as much center field play for Tommy Edman to be able to help back up that position in case there's some type of injury that somebody like an Alex Call could potentially be able to provide for this Los Angeles Dodgers team to be able to make it worth it. So I think the offense, for the most part, is in a pretty good position overall. So you look at all these different options. They got 13 players that they could turn to, and then it comes down to a question of, let's say that you carry 14 position players on the postseason roster. Let's say that you carry all these 13. It comes down to, do you want a left-handed hitting bench bat, somebody like a Ryan Ward? Do you want somebody with good defensive ability, and Alex Reland or Hae-Sung Kim? Kim maybe with the stolen base ability. Do you want to go with a wild card with somebody like an Alek Thomas? Carry an extra catcher in case there's some worry about Will Smith. There's some other ways that the Dodgers could turn to for this last postseason spot, but I don't think it's necessarily as impactful going forward. And what I want to be able to, so that's a little bit of an overlook at this postseason offensive side of things. What I want to do now is look at some of the splits, especially for some of the players on the bench. So we have, I know that's a little bit of a clunky transition, but didn't know how else to be able to do it. You have these players. These are their splits this year on the season. Tommy Edman, I would expect to be much better hitter against left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching. I think this right-handed numbers as the season goes on, if anything, it's anything like past seasons, will probably go down a little bit. Overall, though, you have a lot of platoon neutral type of hitters. So who are going to be the other options on the bench? Miguel Rojas. When Miguel Rojas plays, it is and should be almost exclusively against left-handed pitchers. 162 WRC plus against lefties, 37 against righties. Dalton Rushing has been good against both, would be a pinch hit option if they wanted to go down this route against right-handed pitching. I'm going to go to Kike Hernandez first. Obviously, these numbers are inflated based on the small sample size, but I would expect him to be able to pinch hit against left-handed pitching as well. Same thing with Alex Call. Alex Call, much better against left-handed pitching. And now we're starting to get into a little bit of a theme for some of the Dodgers bench options is good hitters against left-handed pitching. And this is where I want to be able to get into a little bit of a conversation, because what I've laid out overall is the aspect that the Los Angeles Dodgers have. The Dodgers have a lot of postseason pitching options to be able to turn to. Some of them, questions about whether they'll be healthy, in which case, if there's continual questions about their health going forward, that could be the need to be able to supplement that for additional depth. But they certainly, if they're healthy options, can put together a postseason pitching staff that you feel good and really confident about just about all of these different options that the Dodgers are turning to. On the position side of things, you're looking into each one of these individual players and where things are at, and you feel really confident about what the Dodgers are able to do on the position player side of thing. And really, for the position player side of thing, it's not necessarily going to be something where you're going to use a whole lot of different bench type options. So then that leads into the question that you have when it comes to this Dodgers team and the trade deadline. Okay, what could be some of the moves that the Dodgers could trade or could make? They could trade for the highest upside type of thing, especially with the talent that they have at the minor league level. We'll go through some of those numbers in just a little bit. You'll see how much talent that the Dodgers have, especially in comparison to some of the other organizations. Dodgers have a lot of talent at the minor league level. They could make any move for any sort of high upside type of deal that they could make. But with some of the reporting that came out last week that, according to Katie Wu, it sounds like some of the things that the Dodgers could be looking for is helping to supplement some of their farm system. Supplement some of the depth that they have. Which sounds crazy given the fact that, man, the Dodgers have so much talent at the farm system. But helping to be able to balance that out, and especially with some of the sacrifices that the Dodgers have made entering this week. The Major League Baseball draft is happening this week, and the Dodgers lost several of their draft picks, I believe 4 total draft picks, because of the signings of both Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz. And you might say, who cares about the draft picks? The Dodgers clearly care about the draft picks. The Dodgers clearly care about the prospects that they acquire because of the amount of attention and detail that they play, and they go a long way towards sustaining the success that they have. So the option could be for the Los Angeles Dodgers, go for the super high upside, or it could be going ahead and supplementing some of the depth that they have. And I think large part of the baseball community, or at least us as Dodgers fans, the expectation for that is you look at all the different outfielders that the Dodgers have at the minor league level, trades for some of those guys for minor league depth. And that certainly can be an option that the Dodgers turn to, because players like a Josue De Paula, players like a Zaire Hope, they're stuck in Tulsa this year because there's really no place to put them with outfielders like a Tibbs, like an Earhart, like a Ward, like a Sawinski are all in Oklahoma City, and there's not really any sort of playing time that you could be able to get for additional outfielders as well. There's very limited upside in movement. Eduardo Quintero is not able to move up to Tulsa because there's no place to be able to play him right now at Tulsa. So the theory is that they could use some of that outfield talent to be able to trade for minor league players. But what if it's not just the minor league talent that the Dodgers could turn to? And this goes into a little bit of a theory that potentially could open up for the Los Angeles Dodgers as sort of an under-the-radar trade asset that other teams could prioritize. What if, and this might be crazy to say, what if the Los Angeles Dodgers had an asset on the major league bench that other teams could value? What if that's Alex Call? Now, hear me out with a lot of this because I want to be able to explain what I am saying with this and be very clear and very intentional about this. This is not to say that the Los Angeles Dodgers should trade Alex Call, but if you're looking at all the different options, especially ones that could be valuable to other teams competing for the postseason, Alex Call is a player with 3.5 years of club control left. He is more or less just a platoon option at this point for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he's the short side of the platoon. He this year has a 154 WRC plus against left-handed pitching, just a 73 WRC plus against right-handed pitching. He is somebody that's going to face left-handed pitching and not necessarily a whole lot of right-handed pitching as well. He's the fourth best outfielder, but what that means to the Los Angeles Dodgers is maybe once, maybe twice a week, give some of the players some rest. That is going to be the options that he turns to. And the reason why I'm bringing him up in particular is because some of the needs that other postseason teams are acquiring for, they're looking for help against left-handed pitching in particular. You look at Major League Baseball, look at WRC Plus against left-handed pitching for the 2026 season. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these leaderboards and stuff. Just going to some of the bottom of the leaderboards of some potential postseason teams. Not saying that they are going to be postseason teams, but teams that are likely looking for a postseason type berth. The Phillies could be looking for outfield help, and having somebody like an Alex Call being a platoon option could be there. Toronto is somebody that, against left-handed pitching, has not performed as well this year. Seattle is one of the main options. Rob Refsnyder, who was brought over in the offseason to be one of those platoon options, has not necessarily worked out. They're looking for very clear help against left-handed pitching. Cleveland could be an option. San Diego could potentially be an option. Don't think they would necessarily trade with them. If Baltimore or Pittsburgh guard into the race. These are all teams with sub 90 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. Milwaukee has a 91 WRC plus against lefties. Atlanta's got a sub 100 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. This is not to say that all these teams that the Dodgers would Tampa Bay 90 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. This is not to say that all these teams would necessarily inquire about Alex Call, but there seems to be a more limited availability in right-handed bats that can hit against left-handed pitching. And overall in the league, there is a lack of that. and an inability to be able to hit left-handed pitchers. And with Alex Hall, let's be realistic about what his role is going to be for October and then going forward for the Los Angeles Dodgers. His role in October, sit on the bench. Maybe there might be a tough game that he could potentially come in. However, for Teoscar Hernandez, probably not. For Andy Pages, probably not unless he struggles massively in the postseason. For Kyle Tucker, probably not based on his long track record. It's more difficult to be able to envision a postseason role. And then you look forward past this year. Okay, what is Alex Hall's long-term role in this organization going to be? It's likely going to be this role at most. And so the question is, okay, is there somebody potentially to be able to replace him in this type of role? Somebody that can play all three outfield positions, that can hit left-handed pitching well. What if there's somebody that within the organization could be a potential replacement for an Alex Hall already? And if you look for some of the statistics on some of the players at the minor league level, Zach Earhart is turning into a really good option to, at least at the major league level, be able to help supplement Alex Hall's role and ability, to where if the Dodgers were to get an impactful minor league player, impactful piece that could actually impact them on the future in a significant way, that the Dodgers could actually turn to. Overall in the season for Zach Earhart, 125 WRC+, 286, 390, 485. However, if you look since the beginning of May, it's a 310 batting average for Zach Earhart, 439 on base percentage, 551 slugging percentage. That's a 155 WRC+. However, you dig a little bit deeper, and this is part of the thing that is really most important, is his ability to be able to get hit against left-handed pitching. You look at expected weighted on base percentage against left-handed pitching, Zach Earhart this year against lefties is 381. He is performing really well, batted ball quality-wise, against lefties. Some of the other batted ball quality is a little bit more question mark, but same thing, let's be honest, with somebody like an Alex Hall. If we were to look at Alex Hall's expected weighted on base average, it's 283. Expected weighted on base average at the major league level is vastly outpacing what his actual weighted on base average is on the season. Looking overall in the season, his actual expected weighted on base average for Alex Hall is, give me just a second, sorry, just taking a little bit to be able to load right here. I want to say it's like 306 on the season. His expected is about 283. So there's a little bit of a difference between what the actual results are and what is expected. And the difficulty is the Dodgers have a little bit of redundancy against left-handed pitching that the Dodgers could turn to. They could turn to a Miguel Rojas, who can hit lefties. They could turn to a Kike Hernandez, who can hit lefties. So a little bit of redundancy there. What if the option could be to replace an Alex Hall with a Zach Earhart at the major league level? Get a similar type of role where it's a little bit more limited at the major league level, while also being able to replenish your farm system. Not saying that this should be the strategy, because if you're looking for, okay, a little bit of additional assurance, want to make sure that if there's any type of injury, you feel a lot more comfortable about Alex Hall than an unknown quantity and a Zach Earhart. But this could be an underrated option that the Dodgers could turn to where, man, they need to trade some of their outfielders. I think a lot of the assumption is, okay, Ryan Ward, who absolutely, if there is some availability, could be, and very likely should be traded at this trade deadline because of its limited future at the major league level. They could even trade somebody like a James Tibbs III. It could be an option that the Dodgers trade. Or even like a Zach Earhart, because for this exact same reason, other teams are looking for right-handed hitters. You want to keep Alex Hall as a little bit more of a certainty. Why not trade Zach Earhart and be able to replenish your farm system for there? But if you're looking for somebody that is valuable to other teams, other organizations, that has a good amount of control while having a very specific asset that can help benefit other teams, this could be an option because, and I keep saying this, he very likely is going to be underutilized at the major league level during a postseason setting. And if he's going to be underutilized, perhaps this is something where the Dodgers could take advantage of the value that he has. And this is not to say that I don't like Alex Call as a player. He's been great for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Awesome addition for this Dodgers team. But could there be a unique opportunity to go ahead and take advantage of the market, and a market that needs right-handed hitters while providing them with something that is not going to likely to dramatically impact the Dodgers? Because even if there is an injury to a Teoscar Hernandez or a Kyle Tucker, you know who's starting in the postseason? Actually, it's probably not Alex Call. It's probably Kike Hernandez. In which case, perhaps they are still good on the bench. Perhaps they are still good with their roster for the postseason. So those are just some thoughts that I had with this. This is not necessarily they should do this, but this could be an option for the Dodgers to have. Let's go back into some of the comments before we take a little bit of an update down at the farm system to try to be able to evaluate some of this. It could be one of those things where hate me for this opinion, hate me for this. Totally fine with that if that is the case. Chuck Huddleston, Max Muncy has been incredible at third base. He's been a difference defensively as well. Absolutely. Sam Boy Smith, our bench is clutch and awesome. Wouldn't mind having an elite outfield defender on the bench for the postseason, though. Yeah, Call has been good defensively in the outfield. I wouldn't necessarily say he's been elite. I don't have a complete evaluation on Earhart and his defense. What I will say is he's playing consistently all three outfield positions to where, man, he's getting ready for a potential backup type of role in the outfield. And especially if he's a much better hitter against lefties than he is against righties, he's looking prime to be able to be a potential replacement for an Alex Call, or at the major league level, get a better role than what Call has with a little bit more playing time. Let's see. Continuing with some of this, Rojas should consider playing another season. He doesn't look like he has slipped a bit on defense and has figured out bench hitting type of role, especially against left-handed pitching as well. Let's get into some of this. Sam Boy Smith, isn't Kim struggling in Oklahoma City right now? Is it because he's trying to learn a new swing? New talk and speculation about that. I don't necessarily know what exactly is going on with Ha-Seong Kim. I just know hasn't just been struggling. He's been massively struggling in Oklahoma City to the point where his WRC plus on the season for the Oklahoma City Comets, which is taking into account his phenomenal stretch that he had earlier in the season, is really low for him. Yeah, WRC plus in Oklahoma City on the season is 67. Earlier in the season, he had a really good WRC plus in Oklahoma City. So all of this is coming from since he's been optioned. So my guess is probably some swing adjustments that he's been going through to be able to do that. Chuck Huddleston, Dodgers need to move some minor league talent before they become Rule 5 eligible. Trade for pool money up. Pool money 2 for international talent. Could be an option that they have. Random hero, minor league catching prospect, you say, could be one of the aspects that they go ahead and turn to. Random hero, Call is a great dude to have on your roster, but he does feel a little bit redundant when you look at the options in the Dodgers roster. It kind of feels like Ha-Seong Kim could be moved at the deadline too. Issue with Ha-Seong Kim is I don't know which teams are going to be looking to acquire him at this point. It would be more of a just trading Ha-Seong Kim and not necessarily getting a whole lot back for him at this point, which feels horrible to be able to say, but that shows you the extent that he has struggled, not at the major league level, or not just at the major league level, but at AAA as well. I'd really like to see him to be able to make the adjustments to where you feel comfortable with him going up to the major league level, and other teams could feel comfortable going ahead and making a trade for him, making a trade for them. Gregory, Dodgers should trade Sasaki for CJ Abrams. That could be one of the options that the Dodgers could turn to is CJ Abrams. However, I don't even know if Washington wants to be able to make trades because they're still somewhat within the race, a little bit above 500. He could be part for their future. I think he's got at least one more year after this one. Plus, I don't think they're going to be overly high on Roki Sasaki with the numbers that he's had this year, but we'll go ahead and see. Let's see. Chuck Huddleston, Call's role will be diminished when Kike Hernandez returns. Saving Boy Smith, that's Mike Sirota. I don't know if that's a good point to say that he plays a lot of different defensive positions. I don't know if you want to call up Mike Sirota right now. understanding that he's going to sit on the bench 95% of the time like Alex, or 90% of the time like Alex Call has been able doing. I think Earhart would probably fit that role a little bit better, while also being able to keep Mike Sirota developing at the minor league level, to be able to make him into an truly impactful type of major league player, because I think he can be a really impactful major league hitter for this team. Let's see. Sorota's in the middle of an amazing on-base streak, currently at 68 games. Absolutely insane. Carlos Garcia, good to see you as well. I was just realizing that the poster behind him is not the Goonies poster. It is not the Goonies poster. No, we make up different so hold on, just take a little bit of a step back. I have these posters behind me. You'll notice that these are similar to actual movie posters, but they're not really the movie posters that we have. So the one that you're seeing right here is not a Goonies poster. It is a Loonies poster. We make posters every single year and bring them to the Loon Stadium. They're gracious enough to be able to let us bring them into the stadium. We Photoshop different aspects of the Great Lakes Loons onto there. So that one actually has a whole bunch of different Loons players as part of it. Super cool. Otherwise, we got Edward Loon's hands. This one, Rally Camel poster from 2024. 2023 from the championship team, we have Grandma Loons. A couple of other ones, we got the Karate Loon and Here Comes the Loons. All different posters that we have in the background. Let's get into a couple of other comments that we have. Let's see. Ray Muro, love this idea. Call and Kim can both be traded. We need some pitching and catching, low A for the future. That would be my guess, is they would look for different options to move forward in the future. And with this idea of potentially trading Alex Call, it all comes down to an evaluation of Zach Earhart. If Earhart is close and looks ready, especially in a role where he's going to play defense, any different defense position you feel comfortable with him, and he's going to hit against left-handed pitching, if you feel comfortable about that, I think that's when the option is able to potentially make an Alex Call type of trade, if there's a decent sized market for somebody like an Alex Call. I think that is the avenue. It all comes down to an evaluation of, okay, is Zach Earhart somewhat ready to be able to make that leap to the major league level? If he is, then you can feel a little bit more comfortable about making this trade. If you don't feel confident about Zach Earhart, still feel like there's several holes in his games that he's not going to be ready for this season at the major league level, then this trade becomes obsolete, in which case you need somebody like an Alex Call. But if you're looking for underrated options for the Dodgers, assets that the Dodgers have that could be redundant that the Dodgers could trade, this could be one of the options that the Dodgers could turn to. So Freeland could be traded too, says Chuck Huddleston. Very well could be an option. One of the difficulties with that is somebody like Hae-Sung Kim struggling this season. They could be looking to keep some of the infield options going forward, and clearly, at least going into the season, and with the amount of playing time that he's had this year, they feel a little bit more comfortable with Freeland than Kim long-term on this team, or at least this year on this team, in which case they might want to keep him around long-term to have another one of those options going forward, but very well could be an option that the Dodgers could go ahead and look out to trade. All of these different ideas are going to be speculation until the Dodgers actually make some type of move. The trade deadline is coming up in a little bit under a month, and there's going to be a lot of rumblings about what the Dodgers could do. They're the defending back-to-back World Series champions. They want to make all the different moves to try to three-peat, to try to go ahead and win with this window that they've got. They have all the money in the world. They want to do it before the CBA closes. Parades over prospects, all this different type of stuff. The Dodgers make moves that make them better now and in the future. They try to make rational, smart moves all the time that they possibly can. And right now, there's not any sort of desperate need that the Dodgers have. If there was a need, they would go out of their way to trade some of the highly touted prospects that they would have in order to be able to get that. Right now, that does not seem to be the case for the Los Angeles Dodgers, which means it's a little bit of take a little bit of a step back. If there's injuries, go ahead and address those injuries. Otherwise, take advantage of the market. And especially with some of the things that they are lacking a little bit as an organization, they're not lacking minor league talent, but they are lacking draft picks, draft capital, bonus pool money this year. One of the ways to be able to address that is trade from the surplus talent that you have. And looking at some of the surplus talent, I think pitching-wise, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because as soon as a couple of injuries start to catapult upon itself, the depth starts to get a lot more shallow. With the position player side of things, I don't think the expectation is that there's going to be a whole lot of injuries to where you'd feel a little bit more comfortable with that. Reigning Hero, with how much control Cole has left on his deal, how would you value him in a trade? Top 100 prospect plus. I don't know exactly. I wouldn't anticipate top 100 prospect type of potential for an Alex Call, just simply from the fact that he seems to be a little bit of a platoon option, and with that being a little bit more of a negative, or the minus side of the platoon, hitting against left-handed pitching, which it only have left-handed pitchers typically throw about 25 to 30% of the time. But I still think with number of years control, it can get a decent type of haul for you to where you feel, okay, maybe a couple of underrated type of prospects that the Dodgers really value that aren't going to be eligible for the Rule 5 draft for a couple of years, that the Dodgers could go ahead and turn around and develop, that they have their eye on. I think that's one of the aspects that the Dodgers can turn to. They have a much better view on this than I do, and I'm certain that they're going to put out a little bit of feelers with that. But with that with 3.5 years of club control, that provides a lot of value for other teams. Even with negative side of the platoon. But lots of good stuff happening at the major league level for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Also a lot of great things happening on the minor league side. Still best WRC plus in minor league baseball at 110. Their WRC plus. Second most home runs at the minor league level as well. They're hitting for a lot of power. Great Lakes has really hit for a lot of power. Great Lakes also has the highest strikeout percentage of any affiliate team in minor league baseball. You look at the hitting prospects, Mike Sirota is still the best hitter in minor league baseball, a 176 WRC plus on the season. Postseason Paula is still insane and killing it. There are so many good positive things at the minor league level to turn to for the Los Angeles Dodgers team, but they're always looking for more. They're always looking to make their future just that much brighter, and they're going to do everything they possibly can to be able to make the team better, both at the major league level and at the minor league level. So that's going to do it here at Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. I don't know when exactly I'll be on next. Hopefully it'll be next Monday at the very latest. Then I'll be able to be on Wednesday. I'm actually got invited to be able to do a show for another Dodgers podcast type of network. So I'll be joining them just for a guest appearance on their show. Really excited about that. Casey, I'm really hoping is able to rejoin as soon as he possibly can for his health. Keep praying for him. Don't really have any sort of update on Casey. Just continue to pray for him as he continues to get healthy, and we'll try to get back to doing regularly scheduled contact as soon as we possibly can. But for me, for Austin Brubaker here at Dodgers Daily, thank you so much for tuning in. God bless, and go Dodgers.